Our next contestant is Charlie Dunn. Our next contestant is Jonathan Dunn. It's an inside job. It's an inside job. Jonathan Dunn.
Thought leaders tell us, be the author of your own life story. In 1995, mine would have been called, I lost my happiness and I can't get up. Think tragedy with lots of pain. The pain had me so twisted up inside, I was about to do the unthinkable. I had driven my car into the garage, I'd shut the lid, and I had left the engine running. I wanted to close my eyes forever. Fellow Toastmasters, honored guests, I failed miserably. You are not in the twilight zone. I really am standing up here right now. Within this failure, I happen to learn some of life's most powerful lessons. To understand the events that led up to this day, we have to go back to 1979. I was in Johnny's little happy place. I had my 3 favorite things right in front of me. My mom, my dad, and this big plate of pancakes. And then the hideous yellow phone hanging on the wall had to ring. Dad answered. Dunn residence, how may I help you? There was this uneasy silence before I watched Dad drop the phone and begin to cry hysterically. As the phone dangled from the cord, I could hear my granny's voice. Russell, Russell. She had called to tell her son that his dad had died unexpectedly. I had never seen my dad cry. It impacted me very deeply. I had no idea in the moment that this suffering would serve a great purpose. I flew on an airplane for the very first time to Grandpa's funeral, and I got a taste of my own resilience as I got to sit at the window seat. Mom, look at those mountains outside. Mom, we're higher than the clouds. I was loud then, still loud to this day. Many passenger eye rolls later, my mom, who was very quiet, stood up and made an announcement. I'm sorry for my son being so loud. He's still filled with that wonder and amazement. Life was about to be a very rough teacher. Shortly after the funeral, an older relative began to abuse me in unthinkable ways. This abuse lasted for years, and on this trip culminated with him strangling me and threatening death. I was 6 years old. Flying home, the wonder and amazement was replaced with a Walkman, churning out noise to drown out my sorrow. I had lost my happiness. I am sure many of you know the feeling. Unable to tell my parents, their loving words were replaced by a new teacher, the 19-inch RCA idiot box in the family room. Watching the idiot box, I learned I could find my happiness if I bought it. It had a big house, a fancy car, and of course, a wife to share it all with. In 1995, I checked off all the boxes. Happiness was nowhere to be found. My wife, unable to reach through the sadness, she reached for a replacement. His name was Bill. Nice name. This brings us to the fateful day. I was driving home. I was realizing the trappings of life only create an illusion of happiness. And then I saw them. Bill, my ex, the two dogs, they were out on a jog. Each and every one of them was smiling. It was like this picture-perfect postcard. Except I was crushed. This had been my family. I was listening to the Doors' LA Woman when I pulled into the garage and began breathing in the fumes. And as I suffocated, I couldn't escape the image of my dad crying. I knew he'd be crying again soon as he carried away my lifeless body out of the car. And I knew I owed Dad at least a call to the emergency number on my Humana card. Humana emergency? How may I help you? This is John. I'm in my car killing myself. I hurt so bad. I just want to die. Suicide? This is my first day on the job. I don't know what to do. You're wondering, what are the odds? The next words were perfect. Keep in mind, I'm suffocating. May I put you on hold for just 2 minutes? I need to speak to my boss. It's okay to laugh. In the darkest of times, I found myself finally cracking up again. In the darkest of times, I made this transformational discovery. There was a smile on my face. I found my happiness. It had come from within. Knowing this, I began to author a new chapter, Happiness. It's an inside job. Your story is not over. If you remember this message, I promise each and every one of you, your future will be so much bigger than the past. If you choose happiness, you absolutely will live from this day forward with an amazing amount of wonder and amazement. Mr. Contest Master.